what's up? I want to be clear before we get started here that this is not just another chocolate chip cookie recipe. No, this is going to be the last chocolate chip cookie recipe you'll ever need. So the perfect chocolate chip cookie is going to start with a stand mixer. Into that, I'm going to measure 220 grams or a whole block of nice butter. Behind that, 100 grams of granulated sugar and 200 grams of dark brown sugar. I'm going to throw the paddle attachment onto this mixer and beat everything together for 2 to 3 minutes to start the creaming process. I'm using a product here called Plugara. This stuff is kind of like a performance butter. A lot of pastry chefs use this in their croissants and baked goods where the exact amount of fat in the butter and the flavor of that fat matters a lot. I picked this up from the grocery store by the grass-fed butters by like where the Kerrygold is, which is also going to work if you can't find this stuff. I want to call out here too that in doing research for this recipe, it seemed that a lot of the big dogs out there like America's Test Kitchen, Serious Eats, they all browned their butter, including Christina Tosi and Bon Appetit. And I tried it. It was good. Brown butter flavor tastes very dope, but for me, texturally, the thing that I love about a cream butter cookie is that you get chewiness and crispiness at the same time. That's kind of hard to achieve when you melt the butter. And for good measure, I asked my pastry chef friend, Sarah Osborne, who's a total bad girl, what she preferred, and she goes cream butter too, so that's good enough for me. Halfway through this creaming process, I'm going to make sure to grab a spatula and scrape down the sides of this bowl. As you can see, there's a bunch of unwhipped sugar butter stuck to the sides, and that's going to weigh the cookies down later if we don't mitigate now. I'm going to throw this mixer back up to high speed for about 3 to 4 more minutes of creaming. After about 6 to 7 minutes of creaming that butter and sugar, it should look like this. They're really well combined, and now we're going to crack in 2 whole eggs, 1 egg yolk, and 4 grams of vanilla extract. I'm going to return my mixer to about medium speed, and I'm going to fold this together and whip it up just for about another minute. We're just looking to combine. We don't want to whip in too much air. If you do that, you run the risk of them puffing up in the oven and then collapsing like I did here in batch 3. Just something to be aware of. Now, I'm going to set this stand mixer aside for a second and get involved with the chocolate part of these chocolate chip cookies. For that, I have 2 4-ounce bars of 70% cacao baking chocolate. This is Ghirardelli. This is a reputable brand for sure, and you should be able to find it in most grocery stores. If you can find Valrhona, another mostly restaurant level chef brand that is really popular for pastry chefs, use that stuff. It rips. I'm gonna lay these out on my cutting board and give them a rough chop into large chunky pieces. This is a second detail that I want to call out. Store-bought chocolate chips are great for cookies and I have no issue with them, but for grown-ups who have a discerning palate, we need something more flavorful, less sweetened, and more importantly, something that's gonna give us more contrast. What I mean by that is store-bought chocolate chips have compounds in them that prevent them from fully breaking down and melting into a cookie. Chunks of nice baking chocolate that are roughly chopped are going to integrate way more organically into this thing and give us a lot of different types of chocolate bites throughout the entire experience. Once these bars are chopped up into roughly half-inch size chunks, I'm going to do something totally insane here and grab my salad spinner, and I'm going to scoop that chocolate into that. Now, we're going to gently sift this to remove not all, but most of the really fine chocolate particulate. This is an attempt to maintain that contrast. Having a ton of chocolate shavings in there is not going to give us pops of delicious chocolate flavor. It'll be a little bit homogeneous and just not pro. But don't throw this stuff out. It makes a great topping for brownies or whatever you got that needs just a little kiss of chocolate. Now, to finish up this cookie dough, we're going to measure in 330 grams of all-purpose flour, a half teaspoon of baking soda, a quarter teaspoon of baking powder, and finally 7 grams of salt. I want to call out, my scale doesn't work for stuff under a gram, so a volumetric measurement for stuff like a half teaspoon of baking soda is actually more accurate, and that is pretty much the only time you will see me using that instead of a scale. Now, we're going to paddle all these dry ingredients into that butter mixture, but we don't want to develop a bunch of gluten and potentially make a tough cookie dough, so we're only going for about 30 seconds on low speed here just to get things combined like this. Next goes in the chocolate, and I'm going to reserve about 15 to 20 chunks of that or so for, well, you'll see in a second. Then, using a rubber spatula, I'm going to stir all these chocolates in there gently. I'm going to fold and turn everything until it's well distributed, and there, look at that. This is some very handsome looking cookie dough. Now we're going to shape these things, and for that we need a little baby sheet tray and a scooper. This is a 4-ounce Lunch Lady Edition mashed potato scooper. I'll definitely link to it down below because it works wonders to create evenly shaped cookies, but a scale or a 1/2-ounce measuring cup will work pretty similar. To shape these things, we're going to pop a few chunks of that reserved chocolate in there and then grab enough dough to fill the scooper. Definitely make sure to press all that dough into the scoop. This way the cookies are evenly balanced mass-wise and they don't slide sideways when they go to bake in the oven. From there, we're going to squeeze that out onto a sheet tray. And now you can see, this is why we reserve that chocolate. It's sitting right on top as a garnish. So when we bake these, we're gonna have a beautiful melty chocolate piece in the top of every cookie. And it's also gonna give us some lightly caramelized chocolate flavor on top. So this is a classic win-win. This recipe makes enough dough for 8 truly king-size R-rated cookies that are roughly 4 ounces each. Once all 8 are portioned up, we're gonna pop them in the refrigerator overnight. This allows the butter to firm up, but it also lets the flour fully hydrate. So plan ahead for a minimum of 4 hours, but preferably do this overnight. The next day, it's cookie time. Now, I'm gonna preheat my oven to 375 degrees and check out these cookies. They're all hydrated, they're properly firmed up, and they're ready to go. To bake these now, we're gonna grab a sheet tray and throw some parchment on it. But this is important, make sure that it's a flat and straight half sheet tray. If you have a well-worn one that's a little bit concave, it's not gonna be great. These cookies, being so buttery and rich, are gonna spread out into the middle, and they're gonna touch tips a little bit. It's gonna be a little bit weird, and that's not a huge deal, but for me, there's no touching allowed. We're basically gonna lay down 4 balls and space them as far apart as we can so that we can get the most even browning edge to edge. And you could probably do 5, sneak one in the middle here, but I only want 4. I'm gonna throw the rest of these in the refrigerator for 4 to 5 days and bake freshies when I want them. The final touch here is a healthy topping of flaky salt. This is Maldon salt. It's available at Whole Foods, maybe Trader Joe's. It's crunchy and of course super salty. It's gonna provide us that perfect pop of saltiness right on top to balance all that fatty sweetness. Regular kosher salt can work here, by the way. It'll be a little bit less dynamic, but that saltiness is still gonna be great. Once these are all covered in that Maldon, now we're gonna load them into a 375 degree oven and bake them for about 18 minutes. This is of course gonna vary widely based on whatever oven you have in your house, but I'm looking for browned edges here. Those are gonna bring the contrast to that gooey, tender, chewy, somehow squishy center, and it's gonna give us the perfect cookie. But a lot of different times and temps can work here. It's up to you about what you like. Whatever you want to do, dude, you're the king. After 18 minutes, check these out. These cookies just they have so much of whatever it is that the human mind wants at its most primal level. It's scratching that itch, man. It's there. It's like a cookie in 3D. They're chewy and crispy and salty. They're sweet. They're super buttery from all that nice butter. And I ate like 10 to 12 of these things leading up to this moment in R&D, and I am still so stoked to grab another. Let's eat this thing. Before I get out of here, I just want to say a huge thank you to everybody who supports this channel on Ko-fi. I made this recipe 7 times before I shot this video, and that is a lot of very expensive butter. So thank you guys. See you in the next one.